Wilmer City Council meeting for Monday, December 20th to order. Roll call.
Mayor Calvin.
Here.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Here.
Osmus.
Here.
Butterfield. O'Brien.
Here.
Osk.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Plowman.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any proposed additions or deletions to the agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded.
Mayor, I'd like to pull number E.
Okay, when we get to consent, we'll grab that.
Okay.
So the agenda as presented is, motion been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion does carry. Next, we have consent items. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, on tonight's consent agenda, we have for council's approval the City Council minutes of December 6th, Wilmer Municipal Utilities Commission minutes of December 13th, accounts payable report for December 2nd through the 15th, miscellaneous finance reports, a resolution to consider increase to 2022 part-time employee pay scale, a resolution designating polling places for 2022 elections, a resolution to accept project number 2103A First Street overlay to Wilmer Avenue to 19th Avenue, and authorize final payment to Dunnick Incorporated, a resolution to apply for and accept if awarded Clean Energy Resource Team's seed grant, on sale and club on sale 2022 Sunday liquor license renewals, application for exempt permit from United Way, an application for exempt permit from the Wilmer Hockey Association, a resolution to consider participation in and support of the National Opioid Settlement, new appointees to boards and commissions of William Patterson to Pioneer Library System Board, Carol Laumer to Wilmer Municipal Utilities Commission, Alan Setram to Park and Recreation Board, Stacy Hallwerda to the Planning Commission, reappointments to boards and commissions of Jonathan Marchand to Planning Commission, Dan Riegstead to Board of Zoning Appeals, Rand Middleton to Park and Recreation Board, Art Benson to the EDC Operations Board, Sean Meskey to the Municipal Utilities Commission, in council's acceptance, the building report for the month of November, and for council's information, the Charter Commission minutes of November 30th.
So Councilmember O'Brien wishes to pull item E. Is there a motion to approve the rest of the items?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Council have any discussion? All in favor of all the items except item E signify by, roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Councilmember O'Brien.
Yeah, I'd like to discuss the salaries of our part-time people. I think we did have discussion in our meetings, and we had talked about first 50 cents, and then we decided, I believe, we talked about a dollar raise. And I would like to even talk about possibly making it a little bit more than that. For discussion. Okay?
Do you have an idea on what you would like to see
Yes.
it go to?
I did check with a lot of local establishments that hire part-time people or full-time people and kind of got an idea. The average salary that I heard most often was around $13 an hour. And I think right now with this dollar increase that we talked about, a lot of them would be about, what, $11, $12 an hour, something like that. I looked at the current situation with just the wage standard and how much it costs to live nowadays. And just going to the gas pump, you go into fear. I mean, I can't imagine our kids, our younger kids going to a job, trying to fill up their gas tank and trying to live on the salary that we're looking at right now. So I would just like to see them be able to have a little bit more money in their pockets to save money for school, for example. I think that's why I worked in the summertime, was to save money for school. I don't know how you could do that with this kind of income, with this kind of salaries. So, for discussion.
Okay. Ms. Valiant, I'll go to you after I hear if anybody else from the council wishes to speak, but maybe just be prepared to talk about if we did go to a higher amount, what that would look like or the impact that might have. So any other council members wish to make a comment? Councilmember Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember O'Brien, for bringing this topic for discussion. Never a bad thing to bring items for discussion, I don't think. I would also be interested in hearing from our city administrator as well as HR as to their opinions. Both our situation now and maybe what it has been. I know the topic has come up in the past. For example, the most recent one that I can remember is the Dorothy Olson Aquatic Center. We had some difficulty finding lifeguards because there were other lifeguard positions available in and around the county at the county parks and whatnot that were paying more, therefore making those positions more attractive. So I'm wondering if that is the concurrence of staff right now, and if there are maybe other areas that we're unaware of where that might be happening or may happen in the future. Thank you.
Councilmember Osk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just hoping in those comments from the staff, if you could maybe address basically how the current proposal allows us to hire and retain employees. I'm driving around town and frequently seeing, on fast food billboards that I can make, between $15 to $18 an hour with, just showing up to work there. We're looking at even on the higher steps of, for Public Works, $12, $16. Do you anticipate it being difficult to hire people for these necessary part-time positions?
Council have any more questions that they would like the administrator to address when she makes her presentation? I guess Ms. Seetsema is going to be called to the to the table too.
Well, we've been discussing this, so.
Hold on just a minute, please.
I just
Councilmember
have one
Davis.
comment. I would hate to come up to next summer and find out that we can't hire enough people and that we have to close the pool or, other things we can't do just because we don't have enough people hired. So that's my concern.
Ms. Valiant, I'll have you kind of kick this off.
So we have been having this discussion, and the piece of paper that I'm handing out to you right now is the average hourly rate and the number of employees of the information that I had available to me. And so the pay range, so the range of each of those employees ranges from anywhere from $10.08, which was the minimum state wage, up to $45 but when you get to officials and coaches, those are based on actual game, so they're not hourly wages. Those are per game. So our officials, so that's why you see a break there. The officials and the coaches and soccer and officials are much higher. But our average hourly rate does range from $10.08 to $15.67. So with our proposal, it would go up just $1 an hour. I'm sorry, I don't have the hours for each one of these breakdowns. So that's the difficulty there. But on average, we're about 63% of our staff, our part-time people, are under $13 an hour.
Which percentage?
63% are under that $13 an hour break. And I'm sure that Rob would probably tell you, because most of these are in our Park and Rec department, the majority of our staff are in that department. Public Works, I think I had about 4 part-timers.
With the brush, I would probably about 8.
Yeah. But of course, most of the majority is our Park and Rec because of the activities that we have. You know, that's the aquatic center and that. And yes, the lifeguards, as you can see though, and I'm not sure how many lifeguards we had because I couldn't verify this information today, but with the information I had, I only had 5 lifeguards, and I'm sure we have more than 5 lifeguards.
Yeah.
There's just no way we only have 5 lifeguards. But this information that I had was what was active employees. So I'm sure there's probably some inactive employees that I just didn't have out of that mix that has already been gone to inactive on their payroll system. So, but it gives you an idea. At the top, of course, like I said, our lifeguards were only at $14 an hour at the top, and there was only one that I had that was at $14 an hour out of those 5. So, Park and Rec, and I'm sorry that Rob wasn't here tonight, but he was out sick today, so that's why he's not here tonight. So, but yeah, we haven't had time to study as to the hours and what the impact would be. We just know that based on our hours, I think it was going to be about a $27,000 budget impact. So as far as budget-wise, I haven't been able to put the numbers into everybody's budget. So we can certainly dig more into this and see what the impact is going to be based on budget.
And then to address Councilmember Ask's question, yes, they are already having trouble recruiting. They were last summer, and I'm sure that will happen again. And even just for the winter warming house attendants, we have 2 positions open and haven't received a lot of applicants, maybe 1 application so far for that in the last 2 weeks. So it's difficult to recruit, and that's what I keep hearing from all of them that are trying to hire part-timers.
So if I heard you right, you said the $1 an hour was going to cost us about $27,000.
Yes.
So, Councilmember Bryan, did you have a number that you threw out there? I thought something around 13 to
I
start.
was
you
thinking
said.
about 13, yes, that's what I was saying.
So then that would be an additional 2 then, would that be?
No, because you wouldn't have that many employees. The 27,000 is based for all of our positions on an average hourly increase. So all of those hours are not basically, $2 an extra hour. Because you probably, I'm guessing, are only looking at the $10, the ones that are making $10 to $12 and adding that to theirs. I'm not sure what your thoughts are and what kind of break you want on that. Or are we going to those, because we have staff that, this is a step increase type sort of scale that you have. So I don't know what the thought process is. What are we going to do about those that are already at step 5? And are you going to increase everybody to step 5? Or, what are your thoughts on that? Or are we going to not have a step, or are we going to increase those that are at step 5 another $1, and then those that underneath that $2, So there's a lot of thought process that still needs to go into this.
My understanding, and Councilmember Bryan and I talked earlier this afternoon. He had called me because he said he was going to pull this item. And my understanding was that you were thinking that 13 would be the starting range, and then everything would go up proportionately up from there. So if we're currently, you're recommending $1, if we then went to $3 instead of $1, then one could assume, probably shouldn't, but could, that the 27 times the 3 would put us at about 90,000.
Yep.
And so you'd move everybody up, is kind of what he had talked to me about this afternoon. And I said, it's a council decision. Councilmember Nelson.
That was going to be my question, was just to walk through the step process. Because if I understand correctly, it's by if they work 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. So it's hard to just say, let's do something when we don't know the actual dollar effects with that. I'm supportive of raising it. I just don't know about that amount of increase, what it would mean, or are all part-timers just going to earn this flat amount regardless of how many years they've been there? I think that's a different approach too. If you're a part-time person, if we're, with that. So I'm not quite sure what we're doing here.
What was explained to me is that 13 would be the start, so that would be our entry-level position. Mike, all right, Councilmember O'Brien, if I'm not portraying what you told me right, let me know, but 13 would be the start. And then, so like if you had a person that started at 12, whatever that, from 10 to 12 would be, that'd go up $3 and the 12 would go up to 15. And if they were in year 3, then they would get the additional 50 cent or the additional $1 on top of that. So you wouldn't flatten it, you would exponentially move it up.
So we could be looking at $75,000 to $80,000 additional increase.
About 90, actually. She
90.
said 27,000, right.
54 would be $2, and then, yeah.
So it wouldn't be flatten the line down to 13, right? That wasn't your plan?
No, I understand that. But it's how high do you want to, like I said, you've got your coaches and, officials. You plan, would you raise them $3 also, or would you?
Didn't we just
Is
raise
it
those
my-
all last year? Does anybody remember?
I remember we did lifeguards because we had to, but I don't remember about any of the others.
Councilmember Fager.
Thank you. So what coaches do we pay? Are these the ones putting on,
You think they're youth coaches? They're
Yes.
for kids, the kids,
Right.
like elementary maybe?
So that would be your summer rec program.
Yeah, summer.
T-ball.
they don't have coaches per team. They just have a conglomerate. They all go there. They have 5 or 6.
So if you coach like a 5th grade team, is that,
Yeah, so I don't know. Rick, honestly, like I said, Rob wasn't around for us to question these, so. As far as your coaches, your officials, but I'm pretty sure that your coaches would be for your rec department.
But when I hear coach, that means you're a coach of a specific team.
Yep,
They don't do that in rec ball.
Yeah, they do.
they have a coach for each team, I'm sure, so that they have
I
some
was
kind
a
of,
coach for football for
yeah.
second, 3rd grade. It was all volunteer.
Did you get paid?
Yeah.
No, it
Yeah,
was volunteered.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. We don't pay coaches,
Nope.
so.
Any idea, Gary?
So are those coaches the ones that they have for summer rec? And they call them coaches, the ones that help?
I believe with coaches they're talking about are the ones when they have like at the softball fields when they have all the youth kids and they're going through different stations and stuff. I think those are what they're called coaches and not the actual coach of a team like you were talking about a football team or maybe the red baseball team or the blue baseball team. I believe it's different. I think it's more the kids that are instructing kids on doing different skills. That was my understanding, but I could be wrong on that. I'm just kind of.
Like when they have a program that they offer through rec, they have coaches, like Gary said, at stations, so they would hire people to come in to facilitate something.
Okay, I'm gonna bring it back to the council table here just for a little bit and see if we can get some direction going here. Councilmember Osk, followed by Plowman, followed by Davis, followed by Osmus.
It's a long line. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quick question, does this need to be approved tonight?
No,
okay.
My suggestion would be that we table this then and let the staff work on it, knowing that 13 is the floor. We don't want to see anyone starting lower than 13 and allow you to bring us back. So I'll make a motion to table this.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to table. All in favor of the motion to table this item and have staff do additional research and bring it back to us at a subsequent meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion does carry. Thank you.
thank you.
Next, we have, you want to file the rest of that? Councilmember O'Brien, you want to file that report?
Yes,
The motion to file.
a motion to file.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to file that agenda item, understanding that it will come back to us in the future. Roll call.
Councilmember Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Plowman,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Next, we'll go to public comment. Nobody here
Mr.
for
Mayor,
public
there's no
comment?
one that's signed up for this evening.
Okay. Next, we will have number 9, which is receive the improvement report for the 2022 street improvements and order improvement hearing. Mr. Vogel.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I do have a PowerPoint presentation. Go through here. Ultimately, enclosed in your packet this evening is the preliminary engineering report for the 2022 street improvement projects. Those are all the projects that were identified, and the report includes them, has analyzed the improvements necessary, as well as the costs associated with them. Staff fully understands that not necessarily all these projects that have been identified in the report may move forward. However, they have been analyzed, and at which time council elects to move this process forward, they are ready for the design process. So ultimately, I'll start with the project areas here. Reconstruction area, we've broken these down into 3 major types: reconstruction, parking lots, and then mill and overlay projects. Reconstruction are noted in purple, the parking lots in orange, and then the mill and overlay in blue. The first project that was identified for reconstruction was 13th Street Southwest, and that extends from Litchfield to Trot. The second area is Litchfield Avenue, and that extends from 13th Street to about 100 feet west of 11th Street. 6th Street Southwest from 19th to Wilmer Avenue. 17th Avenue Southwest, that's the little stub off of 6th. And then Charlotte Street from Johanna to Becker Avenue. Lastly, for the reconstruction portions, Industrial Drive Service Road, across from Public Works. So, parking lots that were noted were Sperryville, Fire Department, and 7th Street. And then the 3 primary overlay areas identified were 1st Street Northeast, or Business 71, on the north side from 13th to 23rd/26th Avenue, and then 19th Street, and finally 7th Street Northwest, County Road 41, which is also a project that we'll get into in a little bit here that's has a county component to it. So ultimately, what was reviewed as part of the project areas was the sanitary sewer, the water main, the storm sewer, and of course the driving factor, the street condition. What was discovered is that the sanitary sewer in the reconstruction areas is clay and concrete tile, and the manholes are either brick or block. Standard manholes these days are precast concrete, much more reliable product to prevent infiltration into the system. Water main, there is cast iron within the project areas, and collaborating with Wilmer Municipal Utilities, they did identify that there is some potential asbestos cement pipe, which is a material that was used many years ago for water distribution systems. So storm sewer, couple of the areas, and I'll point them out specifically when we get to that portion, but a couple of those areas ultimately do not have adequate storm sewer network to collect the drainage to adequately convey it away from intersections and properties. And then finally, the streets. I think council is familiar with the condition of these streets, particularly in the report with potholes, cracking, settlements, things of that nature. So the street improvements in the reconstruction areas, ultimately that's total reconstruct. You remove the bituminous, the gravel, the concrete, and then replace the utilities under it and build it back up. The overlay areas, we just mill off approximately 3 inches of the bituminous surface and then put that 3 inches back on as new pavement. Typical sections Ultimately, what this is showing everybody is the street width of the existing streets, and these streets are proposed to be put back into the generally the same width and profile as they exist currently, but this gives you an idea. 13th Street is approximately 40 feet wide, Litchfield Avenue about 38, 6th Street, again, 38 feet, Charlotte, 36, and Industrial Drive is approximately 24. The mill and overlay sections, you'll note, they don't have a width because they vary substantially between Business 71 and the others. So the proposed utility improvements, sanitary sewer, as I mentioned before, clay tile and concrete piping. That'll be replaced with new PVC pipes, which is the industry standard. Now, new sewer services and those concrete precast manholes and castings. So 13th Street, ultimately this just illustrates the sanitary sewer system within 13th. Ultimately, it shows that the sewer within this project area flows to Becker Avenue. Again, 6th Street and 17th, illustrating the sewer network there. The dark green lines are the pipes that are supposed to be replaced. The lighter line type is the existing sanitary sewer. So ultimately, the pipes that are there are getting removed. The new pipes are going right back in their place. And then Charlotte Street, you'll note that flows to Minnesota Avenue. The Industrial Drive Service Road ultimately flows north near Trot. And water main, again, I just wanted to mention, staff has been making a concerted effort to collaborate with Wilmer Municipal Utilities. These projects that have been identified for reconstruction were actually identified by them as priority areas. So we've had that collaboration going on, and it's been working very well. Ultimately, the water main that's proposed to be replaced is between 8 inches and 10 inches in diameter. There would be new valves, hydrants, and water services as part of those improvements as well. And I do have a few maps here of each of the reconstruction areas for the water main system itself. But ultimately, whatever exists there currently, with a few improvements, whether that be valve locations where utilities are preferring a valve here or there, but hydrants generally going back in the same location as they exist today. So that's 13th and Litch. I just skipped over a page. 6th Street identified there, and 17th. Charlotte, you'll note on Charlotte, only a portion of the water main is being proposed to be replaced there. And again, that's based on the municipal utilities records and the condition of those pipes within that area. So they didn't feel that north of Minnesota Avenue is warranted for replacement. So we have not identified it as such. And then finally, the industrial service road for the water main component. Storm sewer is proposed as new reinforced concrete pipe, which is the industry standard, with precast manholes and catch basins. Currently, a lot of those structures out there, similar to the sanitary sewer, are brick and block and a wide variety of different components out there. So that would all be replaced with industry standard products. And of course, new concrete curb and gutter, which contributes to the storm sewer system. 13th Street in Litchfield, additional storm sewer is proposed to be added north of Becker and south of Litchfield. That's, as I mentioned earlier, to prevent some of the ponding in the intersections and overland flow in that area to reduce flooding and drainage concerns. 6th Street and 17th, also some additional storm sewer added there to take care of some of those similar concerns. These two project areas were inadequate in terms of the storm sewer that's available with that large of a drainage area, trying to convey all that water down the street that leads to two problems. Charlotte Street Southeast, Actually, that storm sewer network is proposed to be replaced as it currently exists. So no additional storm sewers has been identified as warranted in this project area. And then lastly, the Industrial Drive Service Road, additional storm sewer there with the addition of that curb and gutter. Moving on to the parking lot areas, Sperryville, just a brief synopsis of what's being considered there is the new parking lot on the east and south side of the courts, new sidewalk, storm sewer improvement or replacement. That's the orange lines identified there. And then some bituminous pavement removal. Fire department parking lots, north and south side, ultimately replacing that parking lot surface. And one item that was noted during the preliminary engineering report phase, there is a drainage swale that runs across that parking lot, if you will. The drainage in the northeast corner, or near the northeast entrance, can be improved by simply installing a new catch basin on that existing pipe. So that's the only storm sewer that's been identified for that project area. 7th Street parking lot, pretty straightforward. Ultimately, just a resurfacing of the existing parking lot. Moving along to the project costs, I've broken them down here by project. You'll note that 13th Street, approximately 1.5 million, 6th Street, approximately 2.5, Charlotte, 1.5, Industrial Drive Service Road, 1.25. The Sperryville parking lot is estimated at $270,000. The fire department lots around 314. 7th Street being 166,000. And then 19th Avenue or Lakeland Drive, approximately 1.36 million. Business 71 or First Street, 1.3 million. And then 7th Street, 809,000. So for a grand total of projects evaluated as part of this report of $11,012,000. This is another breakdown, ultimately, which identifies the components associated with that total project cost of $11 million. You'll note that the street reconstruction and mill and overlay are the lion's share of the improvement. And then the sanitary sewer and water main utilities along with storm sewer and then parking lots make up the rest of that estimated cost. This is ultimately a slide that indicates the cost summary by the project, broken down by the utility, the street surface, and the type of improvement that it is. I'm not going to go through all these numbers here tonight, but ultimately each separate component has been broken out for each project so that we know specifically exactly what that project area contributes to the overall portion of the total project cost. Funding sources that have been identified both this year and in years past include assessments, state aid participation, county participation, Wilmer municipal utilities, wastewater funds, city funds, and then the other one identified there is local option sales tax, specifically for the areas where drainage is being improved, not simply replaced, but where drainage is being improved as part of a project. And I'll get to the streets that we've identified that would potentially contribute to that. So the anticipated project funding sources, I'll spend just a little bit of time here. For each project area, we've identified the assessments associated with them. Naturally, the parking lots, city parking lots don't have an assessment component associated with them, but certainly do have a cost. So we've noted those there. The other thing I did want to point out, the state aid participation. Those two projects, 19th and 1st, are both state aid eligible projects out of these projects that have been identified. Working with Finance Director Okins and the state aid system, there will be approximately $2 million available for funding through state aid for 2022. So that's why that 2,000 is kind of in between both of them. And then municipal utilities broken down there by project, similar to the wastewater. And then the local option sales tax If you recall, as I went through the storm sewer components of these projects, and we noted that the first two, 13th Litch and then 6th, have storm sewer being added to them to take care of some drainage issues, as well as industrial drive. So that's why they have tentatively been placed under the local option sales tax funding column. The other question that you might have is on the far right-hand side, bottom two numbers, why those numbers are in parentheses. Ultimately, that's related to the funding sources of the state aid and the county participation associated with that. So to make the numbers balance, that it shows it as a, not necessarily a negative, but that's why it's noted as such in that particular slide. So ultimately, assessments total approximately 3 million. The state aid participation, as I mentioned, is 2. The county participation has been identified at approximately 584,000. Municipal utilities, 1.27. Similar with wastewater, about 1.27. Local option sales tax has been identified at about 318,000, and then a total city cost of 2.574 million. Breakdown of assessments by property classification or ownership classification. You'll note that there are private properties. There are also city properties that will be assessed as part of the improvements, state properties, and then county properties. So you'll notice what the private property versus city and all the other jurisdictions amount to there for a total assessable total cost of approximately 2.995 million. Assessments, to provide an idea of what the anticipated assessment cost is associated with each of these. We've broken them up into the various categories, first being street reconstruction. And we have identified ranges here that reflects different segments being completed, recognizing that there is a potential that not all these projects will be completed at once. So there is an economy of scale that happens when you do more work versus less. And ultimately, as we're all aware, there is a lot of discussion about potential inflation and things of that nature. So we've tried our best to provide a range that accommodates these project areas. And ultimately, those ranges will be solidified at the time when bids are received for the improvements. So street reconstruction ranging from $67 to $87 a foot. Sanitary sewer, $17 to $27. Sanitary sewer services between approximately $500 and $730 per each service. The water main reconstruction does vary quite a bit, between $12 and $40. There's a lot of fluctuation going on right now in pipe pricing. Water services, we've broken them down there. Those are the typical sizes we see. 1 inch typically for a residential, 6 inch typically for a commercial industrial type property. Storm sewer reconstruction range, and then the mill and overlay range. So that all being said, total again, anticipated assessments for the overall project, $2.995 million. Lastly, project schedule. We're recommending, and there's a memo or a resolution in your packets this evening, which would call for a public hearing on January 18th. That is for the improvements themselves. At that point, property owners would have the opportunity to come in, hear about the project, and voice any concerns relative to the project that they might have to council. That is different than the assessment hearing. The assessment hearing is not held until after bids are received from the project. These are strictly estimates at this point. And recognizing that that's a very important part to each property owner. But unfortunately, this next step is simply the improvement hearing to speak about the improvements. Provided that moves forward, we've identified a schedule of presenting plans and specifications to you in May. That schedule can be adjusted depending on the level of the projects or how many projects are being done. But this is our best estimate based on all of the projects moving forward. That would allow for a bid opening in June, and then a typical city policy is that you receive the bids, you prepare a final assessment, you have the assessment hearing, and then you decide whether or not a project will be awarded. There are other options associated with that. Staff can bring those to you, but that historically is how the city has operated with these projects. And then that would allow the bids to be accepted and a contract awarded in July with construction to begin in July. So with that, I'll stand for any questions that you might have. Otherwise, there is a resolution in your packets this evening.
Councilmember Rasmus.
So I'm just curious, what happened with the plan to move things up? That we couldn't adopt the plans in March or April to be put out to build bids to start 2 months earlier instead of July?
Yeah, so I think, and again, that speaks specifically to the volume of work, $11 million worth of construction. Certainly, well, it takes some time to put that all together. We could move individual projects forward more quickly so that they could start, but we would need to identify which ones those are. So for example, the mill and overlay, that goes really quick. Those projects can be put together relatively quickly. The reconstruction projects where there's sanitary sewer, water main, and storm sewer involved, ultimately, the best way to move this whole process forward would ultimately be to, as soon as June or July rolls around, to start talking about these improvements at that point instead of fall, is really the way the process needs to move.
Would there be a way for the total reconstructs at least to get moved up so we don't run into a situation like East 2nd Street again? So
Yes,
that can get started earlier?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're right. The reconstruction projects do take more time to construct than the mill and overlay too. So those are the time sensitive projects. Yep.
Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. If I heard you correctly, Charlotte Street is being billed as a reconstruct, but there are parts of it that aren't a total reconstruct?
Yes, that's correct. So Charlotte Street, the water main on the south side has been identified for replacement by the Wilmer Municipal Utilities. But north of Minnesota Avenue, that section of pipe has been deemed adequate by the utility. So that's the only thing that would not be reconstructed is the water main in that segment.
So do they pay the same amount of assessments if they are not getting a total reconstruct? And then I know we had a couple years ago where we had complaints where parts were done and parts weren't done. And if this is being done that once every 30 years, you have to have your street reconstructed and we're not completely redoing it, I'm just concerned about that.
Sure. So the first part of the question, if a property owner does not have their water main or water services replaced in front of their property, they do not get assessed for it. So that portion, they would not be responsible for water main. Second part of the question is whether or not that entire length of street should, or that entire length of water main should be replaced. That was a discussion that we had with Wilmer Municipal Utilities, and they're confident in the condition of that pipe. Certainly we can revisit that with them just to make sure that they're 110% sure before this project would move forward. But that was a conversation that we had with them.
Additional comments? Okay, go ahead.
My second question is about the parking lot at Sperryville. I'm not sure that I understand why. I guess I'm concerned to how close we're putting the parking lot to the pickleball courts. If I understand correctly, the east side, we're going to have to tear out trees and lower land, and I just don't understand why we're putting everything so close to pickleball courts and we are not finishing the west side where there's currently a gravel parking lot. I just am concerned about that design.
Okay. Maybe we could review that further ultimately, as we discuss as staff, how to lay this out. Parking near the courts with that sidewalk border around the east and south sides, I guess is the idea that we came up with, but certainly we can take a look at that west side. That also includes some bituminous removal, but we can definitely review that.
Councilman Plowman.
Thank you for the presentation tonight. It was pretty thorough, and I think it gives us a good idea. It is an aggressive plan, both financially and physically, but I believe that we've heard from citizens in town, and I think that we've heard at our retreats and from our staff and the other experts that this is something that we are committed to taking on. And I do appreciate the exhaustive financial breakdown, because that puts it into pieces that are easier to digest in terms of how everything's going to work out budget-wise and whatnot. I guess that would be my main thought. Then following that would be to echo Councilwoman Osmus's thought, was just the aggressiveness of the bid schedule and the possibility of bumping those total reconstructs, those bids up, because then we can kind of be surer than not that at least we're being more aggressive about the timetables required, because we do not want to run into another situation like we have this year. And I think if we do that, incorporated with the rest of the plans that are in front of us, we'll be on track with that aggressive plan. So that would be my my thought. I'm supportive of the plan with maybe just a couple minor tweaks. Thank you.
Councilmember Butterfield, followed by Fagerly.
I thought we were gonna be scrapping the Sperryville parking lot till we figured out if we're gonna be adding on more pickleball courts. And then if we were gonna add on more pickleball courts, we would do the parking lot at that time. Reset.
Did you hear?
Yeah, so certainly that is, that's an option.
Councilmember Butterfield, keep it down because we're getting a lot of feedback coming.
Okay.
Because you had it up. Thank you.
Certainly that is an option to reconsider Sperryville, but it was identified that there was a lack of parking there, and so it was studied as part of this report, but it doesn't, just because it's in the report doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to move forward if council has other desires associated with it.
I believe the concept is that the pickleball courts, the additional pickleball courts would go to the west, correct?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that wouldn't be that wouldn't be an issue with the parking then, right?
As the parking
when
lot is
this
currently
got talked about at the retreat, I thought we were told that the pickleball courts would go farther to the west. And then, so this parking lot could go ahead and be done the way it's being presented, because it would not interfere with that. Is that correct? I mean, that's what I remember from the retreat.
Yeah, this parking lot configuration would not conflict with future pickleball court construction.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was my concern too, because there was discussion to bring more pickleball courts to the existing area instead of putting it at another park. And if you do that, then the parking lot probably needs to be adjusted, because it might not be big enough if you had, how many are there now? 8 or 10 courts? That you play, Julie?
6?
6? Okay. It's a guesstimate. Okay. So, yeah, that was my concern. And also, I'd like to move the construction up, because looks like we'll be getting into end of November or October and early November for paving again. And who knows what the weather is like. So if you could speed it up. Looked like there's like 90 days that nothing is happening, even though you guys are drawing up the plans, but from January to May. So.
Yeah, that was the design window that was incorporated into the schedule. So, well, I've heard council loud and clear tonight.
So when we pay you, you bid it out, right? I mean,
Yep.
so it doesn't
Contract.
matter if you have to do it 30 days faster or,
Ultimately, I mean, the way it works is it's just hours, right? So if you have,
okay.
we need 30 people to do it instead of 15, that's what will have to happen. It's going to take the same amount of time, I guess is what I'm saying. It's just
Yeah.
a matter of how many people.
Yeah.
Yep,
And then, are we a priority for your firm? The city of
absolutely,
Wilmer? Okay. That's what I wanted to hear.
Good answer.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. I was not in tune to adding pickleball courts on there, and so I would just ask before we make a decision on Sperryville parking lot, that perhaps we have a conversation on the park plan for Sperryville instead of piecemealing it. So if we could add that somewhere to have a conversation about what the intent is for long-term with that. I know it doesn't affect, it affects whether we do it now or later, but I'm not comfortable piecemealing and then saying 2 years later, we're going to add more and piecemealing another parking lot. So that's a request.
Okay, other comments or questions? Okay, so I heard Councilman Plowman say that he was okay with the plan with a couple of tweaks. So we've talked about the timing issue. We've got the issue of the Sperryville parking lot. I think 4 people have brought that up. So are there other things that you want specifically? Because I'm trying to move us to a point where we're going to make a motion and then that motion needs to be adjusted. So did you have anything specific? You just said you had some tweaks you wanted to see.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the tweaks specifically being number 1, construction schedule. Number 2, the Sperryville, details of Sperryville. But I think in the whole scheme of the improvement, the improvement projects, I think those are 2 not super large items. It's just going to require some reallocation of time and some rescheduling, and then maybe a look specifically at Sperryville. So those would be the 2 kind of major tweaks that I was inferring.
Okay, is there someone who wishes to make a motion as it's presented? And then do friendly amendments after? Or how do you guys want to do it? So I'd be looking for a motion to receive the improvement report for the 2022 street improvements and order improvement hearing.
I would enter that motion.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call. I'm sorry. Are there friendly amendments that want to get added to that at this point? I think what I heard from staff is that the timeline will be worked on aggressively. So is there a friendly amendment that wants to go towards pulling the Sperryville parking lot?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Scott?
Apologies, Mayor, Council. The action item in your agenda tonight is just to accept the feasibility report that's been prepared. I would suggest that if there are changes to the actual slate of projects that are documented in the report, those should be made at following the improvement hearing. So I think your action item tonight, I don't believe the council needs to amend it based on the discussion. You can simply accept the report and set the hearing. And then if there are changes to the actual projects, those could be made following the hearing.
Okay, but if we have staff working on it and we're being charged by the hour, doesn't seem to me that it would make sense to put staff time towards something that we're already talking ahead of time that we don't want to do. That's why I'm asking for that.
You've already also accepted the bids from Bolton and Mink for these projects. So they're only going to be whatever charging up to that point anyway. And the Sperryville one is not going to make that much difference on the cost. That's the and this public hearings is mostly because of those that are the public improvements, the reconstruction and the mill and overlays, those that are assessments. The parking lots really are not part of the public hearing process.
Okay. What does council wish to do? Motion been made and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Ask.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
And we appreciate the expediency of moving our projects forward.
Understood.
Next, we consider Wilmer Hockey Boosters Blue Line Arena Advertising Agreement.
Not Rob. So I'm presenting for Rob tonight, and this is an agreement with the hockey boosters are requesting to put advertising on the dasher boards in the Blue Line Arena, and the proceeds of the advertising will go to back to Hockey Boosters Scholarship Program for youth players and needs and facility improvements. And the agreement would run from January 1st, 2022 to May 31st, 2022. And I believe this is, as you're looking at the ice, would be just along the west side of the arena, so you can see it from the visitor, or where you're viewing side of it, is what I was told. So I'd stand for any questions. I think I could answer most questions.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve Wilmer Hockey Boosters Blue Line Arena Advertising Agreement. Discussion. Councilmember Osmus, yes, no?
Nope, I was just letting the city clerk know who made the second.
Okay. I tried doing that last time, but decided I wasn't going to do it anymore.
Okay.
Councilmember Osk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Has this been done before? Is this something we've done, or is this a new thing?
Well, this is a new thing in the arena. They do have an agreement like that with the Warhawks, for their advertising. And this is kind of a similar thing what we've done with the baseball boosters along the fence out at North Swanson. I don't know if you've noticed in the last few years, they put different banners up, advertising banners, just another way for them to raise some revenue to help out their youth programs. So I think they seen an opportunity, so they're going to try and see if they can get them sold. And so
Great, thank you.
money goes to a good cause to help.
Sure does, yeah.
Helps kids.
Additional comments or questions? Roll call.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Aye.
Ask.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Next, we have consideration for professional services agreement with David Turch and Associates. Ms. Valiant.
Yes, this David Turch is a lobbyist at the federal level, and the city has used him in the past. And we have been in discussion with him because the municipal utilities has been talking to them also, and has also gone into an agreement with them to try to get federal funding for the new water treatment plant improvements. And we see an opportunity at this point also for our stormwater improvements to maybe lobby at the federal level along with the auditorium, and seek maybe historical preservation dollars in that. And so this would be entering in then for a one-year contract with a compensation for the annual contract of $18,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve a professional services agreement with David Turch and Associates. Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. I'm just curious about the year. Is there a way to do 6 months with a 6-month renewal? I thought that's what the utilities had done, that they didn't do a full year.
Certainly ask.
I thought it was just a review kind of where things were at and what was progressing and those types of things. So I was surprised to see a year, but I could be wrong. I'm curious.
I know when we used them last time, I think it was a 3-year agreement last time. But that
Anything in their minutes?
wasn't approved.
We didn't renew it.
We didn't renew it. No, we used them one
No.
time. Right.
Yep.
Okay, additional comments? We have a motion on the table to approve a professional services agreement for 1 year with David Turch and Associates in the amount of $18,000. Roll call.
Councilmember Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman. Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Next is consider waiving hearing, certifying unpaid water service replacement charges. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, before you tonight is a request to waive a hearing and adopt a resolution certifying the amount of unpaid water service replacement charges to the auditor for collection in 2022. This was a service that the city provided to the property owners during the street reconstruction on 2nd Street, and the property owners have requested that we place it against their taxes for collection in 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve to waive a hearing and adopt a resolution certifying the amount of unpaid water service replacement charges to the county auditor for collection in the tax year 2022. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Plowman,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Fagerly, Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. Next is consideration of pay scale for non-union employees. Ms. Sietsma, our HR director.
We're taking it.
And Ms. Valiant, our city administrator.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. So for all of our union contracts already have a cost of living increase scheduled for 1/1 of 2022. And so what we're looking for here is an amount of a cost of a living increase for those that are unrepresented or non-union staff. And there's some documentation that you would have received that in your packet about the pay scale, the current wage scale, and then a potential for a 2% increase and a potential for a 2.5% increase, and then how it affects it and the cost at the bottom of that page. So just looking for some direction.
So staff, from my conversation earlier today with the administrators, looking at the 2.5%, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So staff wants us to consider a pay scale for non-union employees of 2.5%. Is there anybody wishing to make that motion?
I'd make a motion to do the 2% increase.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve a pay scale for non-union employees at 2%. Discussion. Councilmember Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is this commensurate with what we've seen in the other areas with the other employees?
Yes, it means what the union contract settled on last year, but just looking at market is why we're considering an additional 0.5%.
Okay, so is the new motion is not commensurate at 2%?
These are people that
No,
are
it
not
is.
represented.
It
It is?
is.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Union, yes.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Osmus.
I think I can make that clearer. All the unions, it was approved for 2%. So the motion was to be consistent with the other employees at 2%.
Thank you for that clarification.
And then also as a part of that, I just wanted to mention that the city administrator is not listed on that list, even though she's not union. She's also has a contract with the city. So, and that is her increase is needing a review to happen before she gets her increase. So I'm in the process of trying to work with the employment attorney to figure out what type of a process that should look like, because I want to know what kind of a tool they use, and then just asking for your direction too, as far as council being involved. So,
Okay, let's do the first one first.
okay.
So we have a motion on the table to increase our non-represented employees to a similar increase in cost of living as the bargaining groups received. That motion has been made. That motion has been seconded. Additional discussion to the motion that has been made and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Plowman,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Ask.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Ms. Sietsema.
All right, so for the city administrator, we're looking into the process for our 6-month review to happen, for her to be able to get an increase that was in her contract. It happened at some point around the first of the year. So I'm just looking for information, if the council is interested in being a part of that process, and we're putting a committee together possibly to do that review. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that we should use a similar process to what we've used in the past. And I believe that that was facilitated with the labor attorney.
Right.
And so, but I think that the HR director should get that out to the council and the mayor, and then have that review done, tabulate that, and then go into closed session for that review.
Okay.
That would be my recommendation. I don't know what council wishes to do. But that way the council would have input. We'd have a tool that was agreed upon by the labor attorney and our employee, the city administrator. And then that would be done by the full council. Full council would have the ability to be involved. And then in a closed session, we would do that review.
All right.
And we could do that at a different time from the council meeting, or we could do it at the conclusion of a council meeting. I don't know if council has any desire on that. We've done it both ways. Everybody agree with that process?
Okay.
Do you want a motion on that, Mr. Scott? I think we have clarity on what the expectation is.
Mayor, members of the council, as staff has clarity on what the process is, you don't need a motion for my sake.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Valiant, you're okay with that?
Yep, that's
Thank
perfect.
you. Okay. Next, we have consider a proposal for city operations director search. Ms. Sietsema.
Okay, so Mayor and council members, you have before you the 2 proposals that we received from David Drown and Associates and Baker Tilly for costs to conduct a recruitment search for our city operations director position. So the options would be to accept either one of those or have it done in-house. So just looking for your direction on that. And the costs, I don't know if the costs you noted out are there, but I'll tell you for the David Drown and Associates, they proposed $21,000 for the search. And for Baker Tilly, it was $22,850.
Can you give me that number again?
Sure, $21,000 for the David Drown and Associates and $22,850 for Baker Tilly. And the difference in their timelines was, for the David Drown one, they said it would take until May of 2022 to have someone hired and in place, and for Baker Tilly, it was March. So my recommendation would be to go with Baker Tilly, just due to the shortened timeline and to be able to get that accomplished.
So staff is looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to go with Baker Tilly.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to go with Baker Tilly. Discussion from council.
I got a question.
Councilmember
Thank you,
Fagerly.
Mr. Mayor. The last time we did this for administrator, we had a local firm come and say they do a search too. Did you look locally at any employment agencies?
We did not.
Okay.
Good.
I'm fine.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to entertain Baker Tilly. And the justification for that is the timeline, with the date being May of 2022 versus March of 22 is the justification for taking the higher bid. Additional comments or questions? Councilmember Fagerly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so this is a position that'll be under the city administrator.
Correct.
Can I just ask the administrator, you don't feel comfortable getting applications yourself and going through them, since it's going to be a partner with you?
Well, I feel that this position is, this is going to be your second in command here. So I don't think that this is a position that you just want to take lightly and just do. I don't think we can get it far enough reach, is my worry. I'd like to see a further reach that either professional service provides us.
For me, I disagree. I think we should be able to hire or get applicants ourselves and go through them. I don't think we need a firm that's going nationwide to get someone from Alaska or Florida or Texas that wants to come up here, and there's no guarantee they're staying. So that's just my opinion.
Councilmember Osmus.
The only thing that I would add to that is that when I think about the police department and when we go in our second in command for the captain, we do send them down to the cities for further testing and psych eval and leadership qualities, and that's what we're getting also from Baker Tilly.
Councilmember Butterfield.
I have the same concerns as Councilmember Fagerly. I brought this up before. We need to keep our money local. We have local businesses paying tax. We need to start looking at them to help us out. And I think our own city can do some searches for it too.
Okay. Additional comments or questions? The motion on the table is to hire Baker Tilly in the amount of $22,850 with a completion date by March of 2022. The reason why we're going with a higher bid is because David Drone and Associates is telling us that it would take them till May of 2022 to find that. Our recommendation from our staff is to do a nationwide search and to use a firm to do that. The motion's been made and seconded. We've had discussion. Are we ready to vote? Roll call.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
No.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Nay.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
We have 6 ayes, 2 nays.
The motion passes. Next, we have community pride announcements, and Councilmember O'Brien.
In your minutes, you had information from the Minnesota Public Utilities, but they had additional information that they gave me after the meeting that I wanted to read to you tonight. And it is the members of the council, as liaison of the Wilmer Municipal Utilities Commission, I feel that it is important that the city council recognize the accomplishments of Wilmer Municipal Utilities. They have been recognized in 2017 and in 2020 by the American Public Power Association as a reliable public power provider, which is called RP3 Diamond Level Utility. Wilmer Municipal Utilities is one of the 278 public power utilities nationwide that hold the RP3 designation. Being recognized by the RP3 program demonstrates to the community leaders, the utilities' commitment to the employees, the customers, and the community. The RP3 designation is the sign of a utility focused on operation and efficiency, safety, reliability, distribution, and systems. The RP3 designation, which lasts for 3 years, recognizes public power utilities that demonstrate proficiency in 4 key disciplines: reliability, safety, workforce and development, and system improvement. Criteria include sound business practices and a utility-wide commitment to safe and reliable delivery of electricity. I just thought that was really important for people to hear that.
Okay, thank you. Any other council members have any community pride announcements? Okay, I just want to, in the news the last week and a half, there's been a lot of conversation about Jennie-O Turkey Stores. Jennie-O Turkey Stores is a company that's founded here within the city of Wilmer. They've been around since the 1940s. I remember back when I was in high school, a lot of the work that was happening around Jennie-O and specifically around the feather plant and some really out-of-the-box things that they've done. And as we heard last week, or 2 weeks ago now, Jennie-O was closing their Benson Avenue plant. And the reason for that is that company-wide, they have over 225 openings. And in those openings, by combining the 2 plants, they're not actually changing their way they do business, if you will, as far as the number of employees or anything like that. Nobody's being laid off. Nobody's being let go or anything like that. Just for efficiency of operations, they're going to move those all into the flagship facility, which is out on Wilmer Avenue, southwest of town. They've been a good partner for the city of Wilmer. They've done good work. They're very philanthropic. In the past, we really never heard a whole lot about Genio doing things within the community, but now really they are a fabric of the community. If you take a look at the Destination Playground, if you take a look at the YMCA, if you take a look at United Way, they've got their fingers in a lot of different things along with the chamber. And so I just want to commend Genio for their foresight and looking forward to increasing their operations, the same as the city does, the same as any other business does. And while it's concerning that the Wilmer or the Benson Avenue plant is closing because we do have a pretreatment, wastewater treatment facility there on the corner of 11th and Benson, those are things that our city staff will be working with Genio on that. And so just want to let people know that, they're over a $1.5 billion company, and again, had a profitable year last year, and are a very important part of the Hormel portfolio. And so I was assured that there's no risk that they're leaving Wilmer or anything like that, which is good. And so just want to thank Genio for being involved in our community, thank them for the work that they've done here, and thank them for the lasting imprint they have within our community and the fabric of our community. The other thing is that the narrative is that Genio is not a good paying company. And I was told by Mr. Lyken that a majority of their employees all make over $18.50 an hour. And they have a number of employees a high number of employees that make over $100,000 a year, and even a higher number of employees that make $75,000 a year or more. And so they are a huge economic piece to our community, and we really need them here in our community, and they really are a true asset to Wilmer and what we do here. So I just want to give a hats off to Genio, thank them for being here. And letting people know that if you're looking for a job, they're hiring along with just about everybody else in town. So if you're looking for a job, it should be pretty easy to find a job in Wilmer. So with that, if nobody else has anything to add, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
We are adjourned.
Yeah, I remember that old plant.
Yeah.
Dad worked there.
Your dad did?
Yeah,
Turkey what?
he was a truck dispatcher.
Okay.